What's up, hockey fans, and welcome back to the Good Goal Podcast. This is episode 45. I'm Christian Brady from Foxborough, Massachusetts. That's Matt Tiart from Tucson, Arizona, fresh off a Suns Game 4 victory. They lead the Clippers 3-1, but this is a hockey podcast.
I'm going to start off the show by saying this. It's 1993 again. Montreal is in the Stanley Cup Finals, first time since 93. The Suns are one game away from making it to the NBA Finals, also first time since 1993. I went to game one of the Western Conference Finals. Tag Team was there. The whoop, there it is. Whoop. That song was released in 1993. I mean, I don't know. Pre-internet. We're back in the age of pre-internet. I'm also in Tucson, Arizona, a desert, and I'm at this beach, this lovely beach. So
at least 2,000 miles away in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach, dirty Myrtle.
Anyway,
all right, that's my 1993 plug.
Okay, that's our basketball minute brought to you by PayPal. Elon, sponsor us.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Elon in general. I'll take a Tesla.
All he has to do is tweet Good Goal Podcast, and we're going to go up to the moon like Doge. So
you could tweet GGP, and people would figure out what it is.
Oh, the GGP.
Uh-huh.
I also think it's funny how we made like 500 business cards to pass out.
Have them all. That only cost me like $7.
That's true. The split. I mean, the mugs cost us like 40, and the cards cost us like 10. Mm-hmm. All right, Stanley Cup Finals is here. Can you believe it?
No, I can't, and I definitely can't believe the teams that are in it. We'll start with the Montreal versus Vegas series. Montreal won in 6 games. Leonard started games 4 and 6. He lost the elimination game, which didn't make a ton of sense to me. Leonard and Fleury have told media that they want to stay together in Vegas, but they can only – no. Vegas is exempt.
That's right. They're exempt.
Draft, which
wow.
is ridiculous.
That's so true.
If they want to do that, they will.
Which, remember, Fleury got a big-time extension, and I can't remember. I think Leonard got a couple of years too, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Leonard got 40.
Yeah. So they're in a perfect spot to stay together. Well, now my question.
Yeah, according to them, if you're looking for the outside in, you're thinking, why are there 2 top 15 goalies on the same team? But I guess they are comfortable with the situation.
I mean, they're only a combined $12 million against cap,
which is Carey Price is making almost that much. So,
yeah, okay. So Fleury will be entering his final year next year of his contract, and Lehner signed a 5-year contract last year. So it looks like long term they're going to go with Lehner, obviously, but Fleury has also stated he wants to end his career with the Golden Knights, which is crazy.
I don't see that being next year with the year he had this year.
No, absolutely not.
I assume there'll be at least a 2-year extension on that.
But yeah, it's actually sickening how good Vegas is, and they get to just skip this expansion draft.
I know. It's unbelievable.
Anyway, I mean, I guess it's fair, but not really.
Yeah, right. It's not. It's fair if 3 years ago when you start Vegas, you're like, they're going to have to do another one in 3 years. There's no way. They're still going to be losing 3 out of every 4 games they play. Little did they not have missed the playoffs in their first 3 seasons.
Here's what I told Nick. I said I saw a tweet the other day that said, hockey fans are the worst. And we've had this conversation multiple times. We want to bring more people to the game. And then when more people come to the game, we get pissed off, right? Like, so many people hated Vegas because of the way they carried themselves. But that's bringing new fans to the game. People are like, oh, this is fun. This is swag. Like, Vegas has that it factor that and Seattle's going to have the same thing. But I found myself rooting against Vegas because, to me, it's not fair. Okay, as a Caps fan, we hold every record for the worst team ever because we had grocery baggers on our second line. Like
right. It almost feels like they haven't earned their way in. It's like
exactly.
it's like a rite of passage should be horrible your first few years if you're not an original 16.
Yeah. So and that's what I told Nick. I said it's just I find myself rooting against Vegas because it's unfair. Like
Yeah.
the Caps again. I wasn't alive. I wasn't even close to being alive. But it's like always going to stick with us that. I mean, you look at the record books. We were the worst team ever.
Right.
I think we had 8 wins in an 80-game season, whereas Vegas made the Stanley Cup Final their first year. So it's a battle I have with myself.
Yeah.
Because we all want hockey to be bigger. It's the 4th biggest sport in the country, but when the playoffs are on, everybody can understand why it's so great. But then Vegas comes along. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna bring new fans to the league," and we're like, "Nah, we're not cool with that."
Right. In principle, I'm like, yeah, do whatever you can to get people to come. But then when I flip on the Vegas game and it's like starting a half hour late because they're cleaning up the rock concert on the ice, I'm like, all right, can we just play hockey? Like,
yeah, that's fair. They got Circus Soleil
yeah,
in between periods, and they only have 18 minutes. So like,
right.
yeah. As I mentioned at the start of the show, Montreal's first cup since '93. Back in '93, they beat LA in 5. That was Barry Melrose coached LA, and that was Gretzky's team. I think it was his second year, and he was already the captain, obviously.
Should have let him coach.
They should have.
Although knowing Barry Melrose was the coach, he probably did coach. Barry just probably did all the media.
Yeah, he just fixed his mullet and kind of just talked about Crosby, and Crosby was barely born yet. So
yeah, if there's one thing that I don't like about hockey going to ESPN is that Barry Melrose is going to be shoved down our mouths again. Although they should be hiring other people.
I did see yesterday that Mark Messier is being brought on ESPN, which if we're talking about
Gretzky's going to TNT, so it's going to be so good. No matter what you're walking on, what you're watching on, it's going to be unbelievable.
Like this is why the NFL is so high on Drew Brees, Joe Montana, guys like that. Like obviously Romo. Drew Brees isn't Brady, but Romo's so good at what he does. But I'm talking about guys that Deion Sanders, like guys that are the greatest at what they did, talking about the game because they saw it way differently than everyone else. Mm-hmm. Like Gretzky, I mean, we talk about Gretzky all the time. That's just
it's going to be fascinating to hear him talk about it.
It's such a different level. Yeah. I mean, because Bush is one of the greatest analysts in all sports. I mean, what he does in between the glass is unbelievable.
Right.
Gretzky's going to be another level.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I feel like Bush and Roma are in the same spot where it's just like, I mean, they never really, not that they didn't live up to potential, but they never really like were that good even.
Well,
Roma was very good.
He holds franchise records in wins, touchdowns, and passing yards, but
he never quite got there though, did he? I know you're a Cowboys fan, but
well, Dez caught it. He would have won a Super Bowl in 14. So they literally changed the rule like that offseason. Anyway, you pick Vegas to sweep. Ha ha. I picked Vegas in 6, so at least I got the games right because we were both completely wrong. We said Canadian hockey was a joke, and frankly, to go back and look at this series, they lost game 1, and then they won 4 out of 5. They dominate.
I watched every game of this series, and I still can't believe they won it.
I don't know. Game 2, they dominated.
No, yeah, it's not that they weren't the better team in the games that they won. It's just Vegas was just better, you know? It just like felt like it reminded me of the Bruins series in that against the Islanders, in that Montreal was dominating. You were like, all right, when is it like going to happen? We know it eventually they're going to break out. And then Vegas would score and get a power play and dominate the power play. And there'd be like an 8-minute stretch where they can't, like it looks like they would, it's like, okay, they just flipped the switch. That's the end of the series. They're just going to run the table from here on out. and then Montreal would come back, and it's like, where did they even come from?
And then Cole Caulfield gets a breakaway and
Exactly.
absolutely embarrasses Lehner. No, I agree with you, but Carey Price stole the series.
Yeah.
I mean, we always say, I mean, it's like one of the commandments of hockey is that your goalie has to be your best penalty killer. Carey Price epitomized that.
Yeah. What if your goalie's your best player?
Yeah. Well, best player, one of the best players ever.
On both teams. On both teams, the goalie's the best player.
Yeah. Well, except for when Lehner comes in. No offense. But.
Yeah, right.
I mean, so he played game 4, and he said he got to the rink 2 hours early just to read all the bad stuff people were talking about him on Twitter. I mean, how many times have we said goalies are weird? They're just weird people. Who does that?
You ever seen Leonard before games? He just goes out on the bench and does like eye exercises. He's just like looking around. His eyes are wide open.
So you said
you want to meet that guy in person.
You said, Danny, your brother has a tournament or a game coming up?
He has a golf tournament today, but.
Oh, golf. I was thinking hockey. Okay, well, next time he has a hockey tournament, I'm just going to start tweeting crap at him.
All right, yeah, do it.
And tell him to start reading it.
Okay.
Maybe that'll get him in the zone. All right, anyway, Montreal, I'm completely shocked the hockey world, other than people in Montreal. I don't want to get too political, but you texted me and said, this is a joke. They only have 1,000 fans in the stands celebrating this.
It's not even a joke, Matt. You know what it is? It's a crime against humanity that they scored in overtime to win to become the first Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals since Vancouver
2011.
years ago.
Yeah,
and there's like 1,000 people in there.
No, but listen,
pretty loud.
This is why I say I don't want to get political, because there was 1,000 people in the stands. There was 1.6 million people crammed outside. What's the difference?
No, that was awesome. Yeah. No, you're right. I know.
Why are you having a watch party outside the stadium and they're at home? Like, how does that make any sense? Canada, it's the hockey playoffs. This is where you're allowed to have exemptions.
The Canadian government should just be like, okay, everyone go get your shot today, and then you could go to the Canadiens game.
Yeah.
And I promise you they will fill the stadium tomorrow.
No, they should be like, it's the playoffs. This is the first time Canadian hockey's been good in 10 years. Whatever. And then after Montreal wins the cup, they'll be like, all right, get vaccinated, then we'll have the parade. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Canadians embarrassed everyone because I bet you 98% of experts picked Vegas.
I mean, I don't like the Canadians, but imagine that moment if they scored in overtime and it's a full Bell Center. How incredible that would be.
It's a weird year. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird year. That's true. Understatement of the century.
Well, last year was the weirdest year ever.
Maybe ever, yeah.
The past 18 months.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next series. Do you want to bring it up?
Sure. So this was a rematch of last year's conference finals with a similar result. Tampa Bay won in 6 games last year. It took them 7 this year. Vasilevsky had 2 shutouts this series, and that's his 4th. Game 7 was his 4th straight shutout in elimination games. You don't want to – I mean, you can't win a series against this guy. He's not going to let in a goal. Imagine almost at this point, it's like that's going to happen. It's like in the next elimination game, he's probably going to give up 0 or 1 goals.
Yeah, and that it's like, at what point do you say, like, oh, we have Tampa on the ropes, say you're up 3-2, and you go back to
right,
like your home ice, like, oh, he's just going to shut us out the next 2. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that you said, yes, still the best goalie ever. He's on his way, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't mean ever. I meant in the league. And
yeah,
we talked about it a couple episodes ago, and we have to bring it up now because of what he's done this playoffs. It's like LeBron in the NBA. Like, not this year because LeBron was a bum and the Suns knocked him out in 6. And he has every excuse ever because he didn't even get eye poked, but his eye was bothering him. Right. But we know who the best player in the league is. They're just giving it to someone else.
Mhm.
Andre Vasilevsky is the best goalie. He should win the Vezina every year. This is his, fifth nomination
Yep.
in a row. Yeah, I mean, what this guy does on a nightly basis for Tampa, and again, it's crazy because Ben Bishop was like coming off of Vezina, coming off a Stanley Cup final, and they said, all right, we're going to go with this 21-year-old kid because he's now, I think, 27 on his fifth straight Vezina nomination. Yeah, he's well on his way to being the best ever.
Yep. It's crazy. This is sort of a passing of the torch series from Carey to Andre.
Yeah,
Carey's
except
on his way out. Vasilevsky's not really on his way in, but he's established and going to be the next Carey Price. So
how much of the hockey world do you think wants Carey Price to win a cup?
I don't know. I don't even know if I want to because I just have this natural hatred of Montreal.
Yeah, but
I definitely don't want Tampa to win. So I don't know. To
I
me,
wonder.
this series doesn't exist.
It'll be interesting. One, it'll be interesting to see the numbers that this series pulls because from what I've seen, this playoffs has done better than previous years. And hockey's kind of done that over the past couple. It's just built on itself because of the parity. No one wants to see Golden State win.
Next year, it's explode. Yeah.
No one wants to see Golden State win 8 titles in a row. That's why the NBA gets no ratings. But
that's why this is the best year for the NBA too, because it's 14.
Yeah. So, and now, like you said, with it going to ESPN and TNT, I mean, it's gonna explode.
Mm-hmm.
But one, I want to see what the ratings do because of a Canadian team in the finals.
Yeah.
And two, I feel like Carey Price is that Ovechkin type guy where, like you said, you have a hatred for Montreal, but if Montreal wins it, I think everyone will be like, all right, we're so happy for Carey Price because he's carried that franchise on his back for way too long. I mean, he won a Hart Trophy in 2015. So, yeah, that's another point to bring into this series.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's a good comparison. Where I wouldn't be happy to see Montreal win, but I would be happy to see Price get his cup.
It was weird Pittsburgh fans coming up to me and saying congrats on the cup, like we're happy for Ovi. I'm like, really? Because I wasn't happy for Crosby, but he had already had one. So
speaking of Pittsburgh, that's the last team to repeat in 15 and 16. So
yeah,
Tampa has the opportunity to do that again, which is a rare thing. I don't think it had happened. When was the last time it happened before that? Was it the Islanders?
No, 91-92, okay, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I was going to say, so they did it twice.
No, Detroit was the last team, 97-98.
Okay. And then obviously in the 80s, the Islanders
went 4 in a row. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Detroit because Chicago was 1 game away from a 5-peat or 2 games away from a 5-peat because they won 3 in 5 years and they lost to the Kings in the Western Conference Finals twice.
Yeah.
I mean, Tampa should be here. They're 18 million over cap, and everybody who's lost to them has complained about that. Right. But we talked about it in depth last week. I did see a tweet, however, that when the Chicago Blackhawks were a bunch of money over cap, I think in either 2010 or 2013, because Patrick Kane had surgery, and Tampa complained. It might have been 15 because they lost. And Tampa was like leading the charge for complaining, trying to get the rule changed on that. So it's just irony. There's irony all over this Stanley Cup final.
You gotta love when that happens.
It's also Tampa's 3rd appearance in 6 years. 2015, they lost. And like you said before the show, this is their 2nd appearance in like 8 months.
Yeah. It's crazy how quickly they've changed the narrative from this is maybe the best team ever in 2018-19 in the regular season, and then they can't win, and they have this reputation. But now in 2 years, they've turned it to it doesn't matter how they play in the regular season. They will be in the finals.
Yeah. I mean, it's Vasilevsky.
Right. It is, and it's Braden Point, who I don't know if he scored in Game 7, but before that he had a 10-game goal streak in the playoffs.
He did.
which is
He
one of the
didn't
most
score in Game
impressive things
7
ever. He didn't
um,
score in Game 7.
because the game winner was a shorty, which is like,
Yeah,
can that be the most gut wrenching way to lose? Is you lose a 1-0 game and it was a shorthanded goal?
crazy.
All right, now we gotta flip the script a little bit before we talk about the finals, and then I'll let you go because I know you're headed on vacation. The Isles. I mean, this team won last year. They made it to the conference finals. They shouldn't even been anywhere close to the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Wow.
And then you kind of have the
Think about
narrative
that.
of, is the bubble like a sham? Because we see that in the NBA. The bubble was a joke last year. This year, 3 out of the 4 teams that were in it last year are in it this year. So it's like, oh, maybe the bubble wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, where do the Isles go from here? Because obviously they're doing something right. Trotz should have been nominated for Coach of the Year again.
Yep.
I want to hear your thoughts on what the Isles.
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, the answer is they have to score more goals, and that was their problem all throughout the regular season. If they really had a problem, because they were good, and that could be recency bias because they didn't score a goal in Game 7. But I don't know. It felt like they deserved to win that series. To be honest with you, they were just so good. You watch them every night; they play exactly the game they want. Tampa had the puck the entire game, and they just could not score. It just kept happening. Which is, if they won, it would be the 2 identical teams playing each other in the.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how those were 2 identical series, and they really did kind of play out the same way. Just Montreal got the better of Vegas, but yeah. To answer your question, I really don't know where they go. I think it's just they got to score more goals. The fourth line absolutely has to stay intact, and it sounds like they probably want to, because what is it, Clutterbuck, Matt Martin, and I can't remember the fourth, but
Yeah.
I'm the third guy. But those guys have been the same fourth line for like 5 years, and they're just unbelievable. And that's a huge part of their team's identity. But yeah, I think they have to improve on scoring, which is a problem that every team has. Obviously, everyone wants to score more goals, but I think that's just what they have to do.
I don't think, and it's weird because Varlamov is 107 years old, but I don't think goaltending was the issue.
Absolutely not. And Sorokin is very talented, and if they have to go to him, they should feel comfortable with that.
I feel like the 8-0 loss in Game 5 isn't at all indicative of this team. Like we talked about all year, how
Right.
defensively sound they are. To lose 8-0 in Game 5 was like an absolute shock.
I texted you, put the house on New York in Game 6, and they
Yeah,
won
and I
overtime, so it wasn't quite what I thought would happen. But
Yeah.
you still knew that they were going to bounce back.
I was gonna say something, I forgot. Sweet. All right.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about our picks. Actually, why don't we talk about this first? We have a couple COVID, housekeeping things. Joel Armia is in protocol. He'll miss Game 1 and 2, which just stinks. And then another COVID protocol thing, which we heard about last series, was Montreal head coach Dominique Ducharme is out until Game 3 after he tested positive during the Vegas series. He's missed the last 3 games. It's just a shame that we're still dealing with this at this point. But I mean, if a guy has COVID, you can't put him on the bench.
Yeah. It's weird that he tested positive. I mean, I think all the coaches were required to wear masks. So honestly, that's probably the saving grace that he tested positive and only one player is in protocol. Joel Armia, the player in COVID protocol, this is his second time. I think what I read on NHL.com was that he was in COVID protocol in March, and so was Kotkaniemi, who actually scored the game winner. So, yeah, it's weird. So many athletes have been in COVID protocol more than once.
Yeah.
Like Chris Paul, obviously, was just a COVID protocol. He got the vaccine back in February.
John Rahm got pulled out of 2 tournaments for COVID.
Yeah.
One of them, he was leading like 6 shots on game.
Well, I saw either FanDuel or DraftKings, whoever bet on Rahm to win it paid them out. So shout out to FanDuel.
Yeah, good for them.
I think it was FanDuel. Side note, I'm happy he won the U.S. Open because if any guy deserves it in the last month, it was him.
God, how well spoken is that guy too? For a guy who doesn't speak English as his first language.
Yeah, for what is he? He's only like 25.
Yeah, and he said the perfect thing. He was like, "Yeah, I got pulled out of a golf tournament. Some people lost their lives. I have friends who died. Like, if this is the worst thing that happens to me because of COVID, like, I'm the luckiest man ever."
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he just won the U.S. Open.
Yeah,
So anyway, back to hockey. Yeah, it's just weird seeing this far into the pandemic and vaccines. Like, I got mine 2 weeks ago at CVS. Like, you can get it anywhere. Not to get political. Anyway, Tampa is home ice, 1-2. Like we said, Joel Armia is not traveling with the team. That's that secondary scoring that Montreal's kind of been relying on this whole playoffs. Because it's not like they have a stud first line like Crosby, Ovechkin,
right.
Pasta. Like they just have a bunch of guys that are willing to score.
Yeah, one of them who didn't even start the playoffs with them, and it's basically senior in college Cole Caulfield, who was pulled off the Wisconsin team like 3 months ago, and is now maybe the best player on either team. Just the way he's been playing recently, he's unbelievable. You notice every time he's on the ice, and I know that's not the greatest benchmark, but it's one that we use on this podcast a lot, is like there are some guys where as soon as you step on, you know they're out there. And Cole Caulfield has immediately become one of them.
He's so quick, dude. Yeah. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually funny because his biggest fan is JJ Watt.
Yeah, that is awesome because they both went to Wisconsin. But
yeah, it's so funny because JJ Watt calls him Goal Caulfield, and anytime he like does something good, JJ Watt's just tweeting, which is crazy because you're talking about a superstar in the NFL. He brings so many people to the game of football, especially what he did. I mean, he won the
living down the road from you now too, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He went to a couple of Suns games with DeAndre Hopkins, our boy from Clemson.
That's right.
Yeah, he has brought so many people to sports in general because of what he did with the Hurricane Harvey fund in Houston. He's just such a good guy. But to have that presence, talk about a 20-year-old kid in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, that's special. So just another reason why hockey's so much better than every other sport.
Yep. All right. Well, let's finish this off with some picks. I guess I will go first. Everyone's been picking against Montreal. I'm so struggling with this. I just don't see Tampa losing the series. I'm going to say Tampa in 6.
All right. I've bet against Montreal this entire playoffs.
How could you not, though? I stand by all those picks. Even though they lost, I still feel like it was the right decision at the time.
I'm going Montreal in 7. I think if it's tough, it's so tough. But I'm gonna go a hot take here. If my life was on the line, and I had to pick one goalie to win a game,
all right,
it's Carey Price.
Wow.
Especially in our generation. I mean, I don't know. It's Carey Price.
I think you have the wrong guy who's in this series. That was not good English. But I think if you're going to pick, it's the other guy he's playing against. It's hard to go with Carey Price, so I agree with you.
I mean, remember last year, and it's so sad to think about how long ago this was, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But remember, at the end of 2019, like when our podcast was just a baby, we picked team of the decade. We picked our own teams. And we both had Carey Price as the starting goalie.
As a decade, it had to be, yeah.
So, I mean, this Carey Price, he's first ballot. He's top 5 goalie ever.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is literally his first taste at winning a cup. I don't think he's gonna let this one go.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's hard to pick against it.
You're talking about Rocky versus Apollo.
Yeah,
Apollo's Vasilevsky's Apollo. He's been here. He's been a world champ.
All right.
All right, I'm
getting one against each other though, so I don't know how to pick. Although Apollo didn't win, and we all know that.
They're not 1-1. Wasn't it a draw?
No, the first one.
Oh, that's right.
Remember,
That's
it's
right.
like, I won, but I didn't beat him. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocky 1 is like the second worst movie in that franchise. What? Yeah.
What? Okay.
Rocky 5 is the worst.
Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn might be the worst movie ever made.
I said it's the second worst. Rocky 5 is the worst.
Balboa when he comes back and fights Mason Dixon as a 60-year-old man.
That I don't count that one as part of the. I don't count that one as part of the series.
Number 2 is the best one.
Yeah, it goes
2, 4, 1, 3, 5. I think.
No, it goes 2, 4, 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually.
Yeah.
2, 4, 3, 1, 5.
Yes, you see.
Yeah, you're right. Clubber Lang's a good one.
Because one had it's so good by itself, but when you're talking about when you look at the 5 movie series, you're talking about Mickey get up rock in 2, and Adrian I want you to do something for me, win, and then it starts and then obviously Clubber Lang and then Rocky 4 single-handedly ended the Cold War.
Right.
I mean,
yep.
2 through 4 is maybe the greatest trilogy of movies ever.
Oh my god! What's his name? Whatever. The guy that came after Stalin literally stood up and started cheering for Rocky. Oh my god! I mean, if you describe that plot to someone on the screen who's never seen it, they say, "Wow, this is the worst movie ever made." But it's just so good.
It's not
this Russian guy is so juiced up that he kills this guy's friend, and then he goes into Russia, trains in the snow, in a log cabin with no electricity, and then ends the Cold War with his fists.
We also have to point out Dolph Lundgren, who plays Drago, went to Clemson.
He did, although he went to half the schools in the USA. But
that's true. I think he went to Clemson for half a semester.
Yeah, I think so too.
Look, let's just point out the timeline here. Rocky 4 came out in 1985. Soviet Union didn't fall until I think 90 or 91.
Right.
So we're talking about this movie single-handedly cracking the Berlin Wall until Reagan said tear it down.
Yeah, they give Reagan credit for that, but we all know it was Sylvester Stallone.
That's right. What a way to end this show. All right. We will be back after Montreal beats Tampa in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to stink having a Canadian team win it again, but
it's kind of nice knowing that they haven't since '93.
We'll be happy for Carey Price. We'll talk about awards. We'll talk about, the expansion drafts in less than a month. So we're gonna have a busy summer on the Good Goal podcast.
Yeah,
we're gonna try to get Elon Musk to tweet GGP along with Doge. So buy into some Doge. That's all I got. All right. A lot of shameless plugs.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Peace.